Making Space for the Gospel. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Gary, and thank you for going on this learning journey with me as we look into all things discipleship. I would greatly appreciate if you would share this content on your social platform and let others know about the learning and growing opportunity that is available to whosoever will. Well, let's dive into this life rhythm of making space for the gospel. It should not come as a surprise that our post-Christian culture is no longer warm or even neutral. Rather, it is quite hostile to the gospel. A growing chorus of voices now believe that Christianity is part of the problem to our nation and not a solution to be taken seriously. The question stands large. How do we make room for the gospel? Well, let's look at Luke chapter 19. It gives us a glimpse into how we can do this. Jesus invites himself over to Zacchaeus' house for dinner. Zacchaeus was a lucrative tax collector who was defrauding his fellow Jews on behalf of the Roman Empire. Luke 19:7 is the onlookers' response. When they saw it, they all began to grumble, saying, "He has gone in to be the guest of a man who is a sinner." Well, we read this story and we find it heartwarming on many levels, but others found it to be offensive. Anthropologist Mary Douglas suggests that meals are boundary markers in which people are drawn together around tables, and yet at the same time others are excluded. Think back in American history, for example, in which signs were posted for certain ethnic groups to enter and others not allowed to enter at all. I mean, honestly, even today, we choose people that are like us to share meals with. I mean, people who are like us. That's who we hang out with. These statements are true of all cultures, but especially true of first century Jews. They called it table fellowship, in which we eat a meal with someone. And it was a sign of welcome. Not just welcomed into someone's home, but also a sign of being in good standing with the community. That said, no rabbi would ever get caught at a table with someone like Zacchaeus. It would be the end of their influence and their career. Theologian Robert Karras writes in his book, Luke, Artist and Theologian, that Jesus got himself crucified by the way he ate. We know that Jesus ate with all the wrong people of his time, turncoats like Zacchaeus, prostitutes, Gentiles, and the unclean. Luke 7:34 reports that Jesus was called a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. For Rabbi Jesus, meals were not boundary markers. Instead, it was a sign of God's great welcome into the kingdom of God. This was not about keeping people out, but welcoming all people in. Author Karras additionally wrote in Eating Your Way Through the New Testament, writes that Jesus was either going to a meal, at a meal, or coming from a meal. Notice the verbal formula that author and UK pastor Tim Chester wrote in his book, A Meal with Jesus, Discovering Grace, Community, and Mission Around the Table. He points out in Luke's writing that first, the Son of Man came to seek and save the lost. That was Christ's mission in Luke 19:10. And then the Son of Man came eating and drinking, Luke 7:34, this was his method. In such a hostile world that Jesus came into, how did he reach people for the kingdom of God? The answer? One meal at a time. In Romans 12:10 through 13, you will find a first century word, philoxenia. This is a compound word, phileo, meaning love, xenia, meaning stranger being received as guests. This compound word indicates turning guests into neighbors and neighbors into the family of God. Wrestle with that. Toy with the words. Look at it and see if that won't challenge you. Well, the beauty of Jesus' method was twofold. It is something you are already doing. You eat meals. All you must do is repurpose a few of them to offer God's great welcome. Anyone can do this. Theology degrees are not needed. Backyard lighting is not necessary. Just a table. That's all you need. There's no better place to get to know someone than over a meal. No better place to dialogue and even disagree in love. Because of this fact, there is no better place to preach the gospel than around a table with food, ice cold tea, and plenty of laughter. Thank you so much for giving me a few moments of your time. I appreciate it. And again, let me encourage you, please share this content on your social platform with others so that they can participate and enlarge our community in all things discipleship. Until we can meet again, we bid you Godspeed. Bye for now.